Welcome to a special edition of 805 Sports Talk. It's a media day edition. We're here at St. Joseph High School. We're having about 11 area high school football teams come out here. We're doing a lot of interviews, talking to coaches, a bunch of players, probably about 70 players and coaches in total. So it's been a lot of fun so far, and we've learned quite a bit about the area teams. I guess first up, Lompoc, they got here extra early, so it was cool to catch up with them and Lompoc coach Andrew Jones. Anyone who follows Central Coast football knows that Lompoc hasn't fallen off since Andrew Jones has arrived there. So big expectations again for Lompoc and Andrew Jones. Toa Tawa is a junior now. That guy's a stud. He said he's gonna be playing safety this year quite a bit, so that's kind of surprising. He projects himself at the next level as a safety, so he's gonna get a chance to play safety this year. Obviously, he'll also carry the ball for Lompoc. They also got Ruben Cortez, Dallas Canley. So Lompoc's loaded. It was fun to catch up with Andrew Jones and get his thoughts on the season. I know, Jacob, you covering that area so much, you're familiar with Lompoc. You didn't get a chance to catch with them a lot today, but I'm sure it was good kind of catching up with those guys and seeing what their kind of focus is for this season.
Yeah, it's there is an air of machine to Lompoc, the way they talk, the way they kind of carry themselves, and it's not just the fancy new uniforms. And these guys expect reload. They expect every season to be able to achieve at a high level. I mean, even at a media day, you have Andrew saying, all right, guys, let's go. We got to get to practice. And it's like there is no break time. And I think that's what really impresses me. The athletes are there. And when you watch Andrew talk about the team, he will list off all these athletes that they have who they can count on, and you just named a few. And there is more than even those he listed off that they can count on. But for me, what impresses me about Lompoc and what is most important at any level is that these guys bring an attitude of expectation. They expect success. And what is great about their first game is that they go up against a program that is the same way. And I'm just excited to be standing on a football field.
Yeah.
That means we're talking about football. And so
It's been a long off season.
And so I'm sure those guys feel the same way. And Elliott, I'm kind of curious about kind of what your kind of general take is of Lompoc Valley kids, but beyond that as well, what you've kind of gotten a sense of this morning.
Well, I first of all, I saw something from Andrew Jones today that we might not see again until the season is over, and that is he smiled.
There we go.
He was in a good mood. I mean, he's usually very serious, and he has built a tradition of excellence, and Tom Goosen up at Arroyo Grande has done the same thing. They get together week 0, the end of this month, to get the season off, and this gives the other schools something to shoot for, and some do and some really don't. And you can see, I was going to talk about it later, but Dan Ellington is in his second year now at Santa Maria High School. He coached at Pioneer Valley before that. He's coached altogether about 30 years. And he wants to establish that same kind of tradition of excellence. And you can see it in year 2. Last year, they had a tough year. And one of the things that Santa Maria High School has needed that Andrew Jones has brought and Tom Goosen has brought to their programs is consistency. And Dan Ellington would like to do that as well. And you can see there's a leap from last year to this year with the Santa Maria kids. They're enthusiastic, they're upbeat. They've been practicing and getting in the weight room since January. And they're now all on the same page. It's the second year of his program, so that they don't have to learn a new offense, and they're excited now to be able to execute it. They know it so well. So, I mean, you see Andrew Jones, though, and he's all business right now. He's had the kids working. He does it all within the rules. It's not like they do extra practices, but he gets them to buy into his program. And then he maintains it so that he loses some really good kids. Every year he loses some really good kids, and then some freshmen move up to varsity, and they already know what the expectations are, and you can't lay down on them. Now, he had some troubles last year on defense that Andrew Jones just will not stand for, and he thinks that maybe he's got that corrected this year.
Yeah, and also in the Lompoc Valley, you talk about, setting a new mindset, setting consistency of what you're expecting. talking to Don Willis, who is great because he's a guy who doesn't mince words about what he sees. He's very honest, and they've put in a lot of work, 6 a.m. workouts, 30, 35 kids showing up to those workouts. He is enthusiastic about what he has seen from his guys. And Joe, what did you kind of pick up in terms of how this summer has been going for some of these guys?
I think most people are ready for the season to start, so it's really good. Talking to Don Willis was interesting. He said Izzy Hernandez is going to be fighting for a quarterback spot, so that's good that you get a guy like that out to play. He's a great pitcher, so and Cabrillo could use some consistency at quarterback, so that was cool to learn. And Don's ready for the season to start. I know the Lompoc Valley is known for its football, and I think Cabrillo wants to step it up again. Don was there when Cabrillo made it to the CIF championship game, I think about 5 years ago when they played Lompoc, and Don was instrumental in getting Cabrillo back up there, and I know he's really committed to getting Cabrillo back where it needs to be. Last year it was kind of mostly down. They beat Santa Maria to start the season, but they had to forfeit the game, so that was kind of an interesting way to start the season. I know that probably kind of snowballed for them later in the year. You lose a game to a forfeit like that, it probably crushes your spirit a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can pick it back up. The new playoff divisions probably kind of might give, if people can see that it's going to be a little more fair for the playoffs, that people will probably be trying to win more games later in the regular season. I don't know how that's going to play out, but talking to Don and the guys at Cabrillo, I'm sure they're ready for a new season. They definitely have some pieces there, so it's going to be interesting to see how it works out. I think they do have some talent there, and I think the expectations are going up. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
They've changed the playoffs. We've given it some publicity. We've written about it, but in the past they had divisions, and they take a whole league, and they'd be in a division for the playoffs. And the last few years, the teams in the Pac-5 and the Los Padres League have actually been in the same playoff division, but now they've ranked the teams top to bottom. They gave them numerical rankings on schedule, wins, losses, offense, defense. They looked at all these different factors, and then they broke it down by points, and they cut it off at 20 teams or 30 teams, and the different divisions have different numbers. But now what it's done is, like Santa Maria, I was talking to Dan Ellington, they were ranked, we talked about it too, they were ranked as the bottom team in one of the divisions, but they were 1 point away from being the top team in the lower division, so they got one more point than they needed. But he thinks now that's going to allow them to sneak up on people and allow them to make the playoffs and surprise people. So there may be some bugs in it the first couple of years, and you got to remember, graduation can hit a team that was a championship team last year, and they lose a bunch of key seniors, and they're in a tough division because of the numerical ranking, and they could get killed this year.
Yeah.
But eventually it should shake out. So that was something that everybody was key on their minds, that new divisions could be fairer in the long run.
And you mentioned graduation, and Joe, is any team in the area hit more by graduation than Santa Ynez? And I know you had a conversation with some of their guys.
Yeah, I think they're hit a little bit. They started out 7-0 last year and then lost their 3 last games. Didn't even, put in a bid for an at-large spot in the playoffs. I think, 26 seniors from last year that they lose. So, yeah, they're going to be hit hard, but I don't know. I feel like they can kind of sneak up on some guys. Michael McCoy is going to be their quarterback. He's a senior now. He's a lot of fun to watch. He's also going to be playing like cornerback safety. He had like a 95-yard kick return last year against PV. That guy can play. Gabe Prendergast.
Michael McCoy was a national punt back and pass and kick champion, representing, was it the Oakland Raiders or the San Francisco Giants, back when he was about 10 years old. So this kid's been around a long time, and he really is good.
Yeah, so he's going to be interesting to watch. Gabe Pendergrass is a stud. He's just a junior, and then obviously Travis Reeland had a huge sophomore season at linebacker. So I feel like, yeah, they were hit hard, but I don't know. I just feel like they might be able to do some things this year. I know Josh McClurg. I love that guy. He's a great coach. He's a lot of fun. The players love Josh McClurg. He's total players coach. He still looks like he could play now. Even today, he's not that old, but he looks like he can play. I think those guys really like to play for him. So, and they have some pieces there, so I wouldn't be surprised if San Ynez can do some things. You know, I don't think it's going to be a huge drop-off for them. I feel like they can do some things.
That would be a great story. It'd be an even greater, it'd be even better story than what they were able to accomplish last season, coming off of one win the previous year. They rattle off 7 straight. If they're able to keep that kind of stuff going this year, that would be awesome, because you know, we love the idea of more depth in the area of football teams, and you know, there are some interesting matchups that we get to look forward to in the first week of the season. I'm kind of curious if you guys have any that you're really looking forward to. We've already talked about Lompoc AG. They're week 0.
Yeah, but Notre Dame right here at St. Joseph, right off the bat. That's going to be, you know, on paper you'd think Notre Dame has the advantage, but it will give St. Joe a quick look to see how they stack up. And St. Joe, in all their sports, traditionally likes to play tough schools, big schools, so that when they get into their league season, they can take on anybody, all comers, and they're going to try it again. That's going to be a good game for week 0.
The Sherman Oaks Notre Dame school.
Yeah, I think a big week 0 game is going to be Rigetti. They host Bishop Diego. And I'm just really interested to see what Rigetti does this year. You know that Chase Artopius was a freshman last year, saw some playing time at quarterback. You know, let's see how that works out there. You know, he's got some talent. So if you have talent at quarterback, that's a huge thing. Mm-hmm. You know, he's just a sophomore. He's got some size. And then talking to Johnwell Larone, he's a senior at Rigetti. I think that guy can do some things. He's going to be playing both ways. A lot of the top players do play both ways.
Yeah.
Johnwell Larone was a lot of fun to see on the baseball field. I think they also have a Rothanzel kid who's going to be, you know, a big contributor, Wolf. So it's going to be interesting to see I'm really interested to see what Rigetti does. And then they have to play week 1, the second week of the season. They play St. Joe over there at Rigetti, so that's always fun, and that's a big game. So I'm really interested to see what Rigetti does. They get to start their season at home this year, which I think will be a big plus for them. So I really want to see how Rigetti starts off this season. Ed Herman's in his 4th year. You know, consistency at the head coaching position is always huge, and I like what Ed's been doing with that program. They love to run the ball, but then they have a quarterback who showed last year that he can make some plays. So that's going to be interesting to see how Rigetti starts off the season. They really got to get going fast, because that schedule right out of the gates is tough, playing St. Joe in a rivalry game, you know, the second week of the season.
Yeah, but he was excited when we talked to him, and he wasn't the only one. They can't wait. You know, every one of them said when we asked, they're ready to go. They can't wait. And you say, well, what game are you looking forward to? And they said, week 0, the first week. What about any others? We're going to play them one at a time. We're going to play week 0, then we'll worry about them. Yes, we know that we have Rigetti or St. Joe or Pioneer Valley or Santa Maria on our schedule, but we're not looking at that. We're looking at week 0, and we're ready to play. And the kids want to be out there. Their kids are all excited.
Yeah, I've spent some time just hanging out with them, talking in between interviews, and this is a group of kids who are, you know, they don't want to just be seeing their teammates anymore on the football field. Yeah. They want to see someone wearing another jersey. They want to see some opponents and hit some people, and it's going to be interesting. And you know, talking to, you know, there are some teams that I'm curious to see, because we're not really sure what we're going to see. You know, talking to Leo Partita of Pioneer Valley, he said that they're approaching everything faster this year. How they play, how they think, they want to be faster. And you know, talking to the Santa Maria guys, joking with Isaiah Garcia, who's, you know, coming off of a great baseball season, and you know, he's going to be running back. So instead of a 90-foot bursts on a base path, so we'll see how far he can take it. He had a great kind of end run to the last season. So kids who make it easy to cover these teams is what I saw a lot this morning.
There's other things too. Orchid Academy, it's their last year in 8-man.
Well, they want end of an era.
They want to go out with a bang, but we've seen schools like Pioneer Valley and Nipomo, and we're going to be talking to the Nipomo people in just a minute. When they started off with 11-man football, and each of them approached it differently. And Nipomo got clobbered for a couple of years, whereas Pioneer Valley played a different kind of schedule, and they racked up a bunch of independent wins and didn't get into a league. Orchid Academy is looking forward to one final big run through the playoffs of 8-man to go out on top of that division, and then Valley Christian's going to have another little 8-man season. And that, we all love football, but 8-man is like human pinballs. It's wide open. It's a smaller field, but with only 8 men there, it's wide open. There's big gaps and the big, huge scores, and 49-48 is not unheard of. So that's always entertaining, and they're just like the bigger schools. They're looking forward to the season. They can't wait. They only play a 9-game season and at that level, but they're still looking forward to it, and they're going to play more and more games under the lights this year, and they're loving that. They love it. It makes them feel just like the big guys.
Yeah, and kind of moving back to the 11-man and talking about St. Joseph, they were so gracious to let us host the media day here again. So thanks to those guys. And I think, we talked about their opening game a little bit, playing Sherman Oaks Notre Dame here Friday, August 26th, and then they play at Rigetti. But, St. Joe's a really interesting team again. Everybody here has covered St. Joe the last few years, knows about Blake Jacobs and that he's gone. He was so fun to watch. And one of the most interesting things that I found out today is that C.J. Cole's been seeing a lot of time at quarterback. And anybody who's watched St. Joe the last couple of years saw that guy can fly. He's been a great receiver, probably maybe the top receiver the last 3 years. He's a senior now. So seeing him at quarterback is going to be interesting.
He's the Pac-8 100-yard dash champion. He's a fast kid, and he's been a great wide receiver, but now they're talking about lining him up in the backfield.
Yeah.
I guess they got plenty of receivers. The coach said that they got plenty of receivers.
Talking about those receivers, I think they got Justin Wong, Nate Guzman, Joe Guzman's little brother, Mason Bialy is a stud. Those guys are going to be great. So I think they do have enough receiving talent, like you said, to put CJ at quarterback and see what he does. And I think CJ running the ball at quarterback is going to kind of be the interesting thing. I know that might be what they use him a lot. I heard he might actually line up under center at quarterback. So that's going to be interesting to see how CJ is at quarterback and see if they have enough weapons at receiver to kind of make up for that.
I wonder, it would make a perfect sense for them to have him line up under center, pitch it to the other quarterback, and then go out and catch the ball. I mean, really, that would make sense.
I see
a
little
flea flickers and different kind of trick plays with 2 quarterbacks. We saw Orchid Academy a couple of years ago had a 2-quarterback backfield. You never knew who was going to get the ball and whether they were going to run or throw or pitch to the other guy and throw back to the first guy. So it created confusion on the defenses. But 8-man's a different game. I don't know that they can get away with that with the 11-man and the kind of teams that St. Joe's going to play. But St. Joe always acquits itself well on the field. So it's the smallest school in the big division, but they come to play every year, every game.
Yeah. I think another team that comes to play, I know another team that comes to play is Nipomo. Not a lot of people are thinking about them, but they made the semifinals last year.
Yes.
Coming off a championship season, and Tony Dodge, as his first year as coach, took that team to the semifinals, and they were competing in their league. So I think they lose Tony Navarro, but he was a great running back. But I think Nipomo can reload again. We haven't had a chance to catch up with them, but I wouldn't overlook Nipomo.
No.
They went to the semifinals last year, and probably not a whole lot of people are kind of thinking about that.
Well, I went to a couple of their playoff games last year, and the regular season games, and Tony Dodge really brings it. When I first met him, I was wondering how serious he is, because he's kind of laid back like a surfer dude running a football program. But it turns out he's really got a good football mind, and he is leading that program in the right direction. And again, it's one of these schools that is building a tradition where several years ago they were middle of the pack, but now they're standing out these last few years. And Dodge has a lot to do with it, but he's got the talent, and now he's molding it. That's that thing we talked about at the very beginning. If you keep a coach around, you can develop consistency, and he's doing it. He's putting a program together, and I expect they're going to be good. Dan Ellington said he thinks they could win their league, but he's going to have to get past a very tough Nipomo team to do it.
Yeah, Russ Edwards, the AD at Nipomo, coached that team to a championship 2 years ago, and he left the program in the hands of Tony Dodge. So you know that Dodge has to have the qualities that Edwards wanted to lead that program to. He was kind of the coach in waiting for a couple of years running the defense while Russ took over the offense, and now Tony's there. first year led the team to the semifinals, and not a lot of people expected them to make that run, but they were solid in the playoffs, and that experience and that kind of momentum builds up some momentum. So I would expect them to be right there again this year. Mission Prep's probably going to be tough in that Northern League.
Yeah.
Santa Maria is going to have its work cut out for it, but it's going to be interesting to see how Nipomo does in the Northern League, and if they can make another playoff run. That's going to be real fun to see.
Well, and Templeton too is they had a couple bad years, but they've traditionally been a good team. You never know about Morro Bay, so there are no gimmies in any of the leagues. And when you get it, because they're 5-team leagues, that means that they're going to play 6 games out of league. Most of them don't start the league season right till the very end, although because of rivalry games like Lompoc and Cabrillo and or some of these others that they come up like Rigetti and Pioneer Valley, that's a non-league game, they may play a league game a little earlier, but still the whole back end of the season, last month of the season, is just nothing but league games. By then you really ought to know if you've got the quality and the talent to make the playoffs, and if you as coaches are doing the right thing.
Yeah. One sec, sorry. We talk about players or coaches and the teams, but maybe we could focus on the players a little bit. Jacob, I know you're kind of interested to talk about who might be some of the player of the year candidates. We do our all area stuff at the end of the year. After talking to some of the guys and based off what you learned last year, and we'll probably write some stuff on this before the season starts, who would you, if you had to make one guess right now, who do you think is going to be our all area MVP at the end of the year?
Well, there's one name that requires very little imagination, and
I think I know who you're going to say.
Yeah, Toa Taua is it's so easy to just talk about him because it feels like he's been around forever. He's been on varsity since he was a freshman. People are obviously familiar with his family's name, and but I'm interested. He's moving to safety. He seems like he really wants to excel at running back. Listening to him, he seems like he wants to be a difference maker on offense, and as if he needed more help creating an all-area resume, which he really doesn't. He could pretty much just keep doing what he's been doing. But I foresee him taking yet another step forward, and if he does, it's going to be very hard to vote against him, regardless of him being a junior. There's always this feeling that seniors get the recognition. But yeah, it's I think that's the easiest name to come to my mind. As the season goes on, we'll see if other people kind of pop into contention for me.
Yeah, talking to Toa earlier this morning, I always enjoy talking to him. At the top player like that, you think he won't say much, but he's always got something interesting to say, and I think he's really perceptive of certain things. He was talking about playing safety this year, and he knows that he's probably not going to be a linebacker at the next level, and he's aware of that. He said, my size, I'm probably going to have to be a safety if I want to play at the next level. So for him to have that awareness and be like, accept that is really cool to see, and see what he can do this year at safety is going to be a lot of fun.
There's other kids. There's going to be a lot of good kids. I mean, I love this kid, C.J. Cole, right here at St. Joe.
True.
He has just been such an outstanding player. Tawa's going to be tough to beat, but C.J. Cole he's just always been fun to watch. He's electrifying.
Yeah.
He's one of them that we should. There's just so many.
CJ deserves more than a mention. CJ deserves to be a serious contender, and he is. And I think what it comes down to is we have a lot of stuff to look forward to.
Yeah.
This is going to be good.
And so do you, by the way. You have a lot of stuff to look forward to. We thank you for watching us in this special edition of 805 Sports Talk from our media day as we get this high school football season going. But we're going to have a special section about every high school football team coming out before the football season begins. We're going to do the high school football game of the week. We're going to keep doing sports talk with a lot of emphasis on football plus the other high school sports. So we're excited about the football season. We can see the players and the coaches. Everybody's ready to go, and it kicks off August 26th.
Yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we're excited to bring you guys great football coverage all year.